Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Monday, August 11th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. When we go over my Core Picks, it's going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher, 4 hitters. That's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. Then after that, we'll get moved over my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Monday's slate overall. In the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report that I have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I'll also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most relevant and up-to-date information, especially as we do head into the lock. But without further ado, we're going to get right into the core picks. We're going to start off at the pitcher position with Nathan Eovaldi. He's at $10,500, averaging about 38 fantasy points per game on the season, goes against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Their lineup's not quite as good as it was earlier in the season. Obviously, they did trade away a couple key pieces in Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez, and then obviously some other guys banged up here and there, some younger guys getting a chance. So definitely do like his upside in this matchup. He's pitched really well so far this year. He's got decent history in the past versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. Although in the 2 starts today against them last year, only had 21 to 9 points. So that was probably the best that they're going to do against him in just in general. But if you look at what he's done so far in the season, it's been very, very good. 10 wins, 1.38 ERA. That is just ridiculous. He's probably a Cy Young candidate, although he's missed a little bit of time this year, so that could hurt his chances just in general. And he's currently averaging about 38 fantasy points per game at $10,500. Definitely do like his upside in the slate. And if we're looking further beyond him, I think there's probably 5 or 6 other guys that you could definitely play at the same time as well. It's a 10-game main slate on Monday, so definitely feel free to mix and match as you do see fit. Then we're going to move down to the hitters. Not a lot of hitters that truly stand out today, so these are some that do have some decent history versus their respective opponent in the past. We're going to start off at first base with Josh Bell. He's $2,700, and he's currently averaging over 8 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Kansas City Royals. Bailey Falter is their expected starting pitcher, and he is 4 for 8 with 2 home runs versus Bailey Falter in his career, so some pretty good history there. If you look at what he's done as of late, he's on a modest 3-game hitting streak, 2 multi-hit games during the time span, 1 home run, and 2 double-digit performances. So he looks like a very appealing option at $2,700, kind of a pay-down option. And if we look at what he's done in totality on the season, .235 batting average, 14 home runs, 41 RBIs, once again averaging over 8 fantasy points per game on the season. And with that being said, something to keep in mind is Josh Bell did start the season off very, very slow. So these numbers probably would look a little bit better if he didn't have that down start to the season, but he's been really good as of late. And then we're going to move down to second base with Gleyber Torres. He was in our core picks on Friday. Unfortunately, that was like the one day that he hasn't done as well as of late. But he is $3,100, averaging over 10 fantasy points per game. Goes against the Chicago White Sox. At least early on at this point in time, looks like Tyler Alexander should be the starting pitcher for them or the primary reliever. He is 3 for 9 with 1 home run versus Tyler Alexander in his career. He has at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 4 games. Unfortunately, 0 multi-hit games and 0 home runs during that time span, but does have 2 double-digit performances. So definitely do like the upside with Gleyber Torres, and obviously is a guy that historically has hit left-handed pitching very well. And if we look at what he's done so far on this season, .271 batting average, 13 home runs, 57 RBIs, once again averaging over 10 fantasy points per game at $3,100. Then we're going to move down to his teammate, Javier Baez. You can play him at third base. You can play him at shortstop. You can play him at outfield. Very versatile piece overall. $2,700, so a cheap price tag there once again. Averaging over 8 fantasy points per game on the season. Going against the Chicago White Sox, so Tyler Alexander is the expected primary starting pitcher, however you want to label it at this point in time. And he is 2 for 4 with 1 home run versus Tyler Alexander in his career. And if we look at what Javier Baez has done as of late, he's got at least 1 hit in 2 out of his last 3 games. 1 multi-hit game during that time span, 0 home runs, but does have 2 double-digit performances. So I definitely do like his upside as kind of a pay-down option that we can play in multiple positions and will look really good in a Detroit Tigers stack just in general. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, .262 batting average, 11 home runs, 47 RBIs, once again averaging over 8 fantasy points per game at $2,700. And then last but not least, we're moving down to the outfield with Brian Reynolds. He's at $2,900. He's averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game on the season. And he goes against the Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta is the expected starting pitcher for them, but he has fared really well versus Freddie Peralta in his career. He's 14 for 38 with 1 home run. And if we look at what Brian Reynolds has done as of late, it's been very good. He has at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 4 games. All 3 of those games have been multi-hit games, 1 home run, and 3 double-digit performances. So definitely do like what he's been doing as of late. He's up to a .241 batting average, 11 home runs, 56 RBIs, once again averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game at $2,900. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you'll have $13,100, just under $3,300 remaining per player. Looks like a decent amount of money remaining. Not quite as many guys that I really want to pay up for on this slate. Outside of like Shohei Ohtani would probably be the big one. If you want to take the chance on Aaron Judge, you could definitely do that as well. But feel free to mix and match. It's a 10-game main slate on a Monday. Not a lot of hitters that truly do stand out. So get creative with your stacks, get creative with your one-offs, and build out some very interesting lineups for Monday just in general. But with that being said, we'll get moving over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Monday's slate overall. So we're going to start off with the Milwaukee Brewers. They're going against Andrew Heaney of the Pirates. Heaney's kind of struggled as of late, and the Brewers have decent history versus him in the past. One guy that I would probably mention that is not in my core picks is going to be Caleb Durbin, 2 for 2 with 1 home run versus him. And then we move over to the Detroit Tigers. They're going against the Chicago White Sox. Tyler Alexander is that expected starting pitcher or expected primary bulk reliever. So the Tigers have hit him really well in the past, so could be some decent upside there once again. Then we move over to the St. Louis Cardinals, who are going against Colorado Rockies. It's Anthony Molina as the expected starting pitcher, so looks like a pretty good upside matchup for them. Very limited history versus him in the past, though. And then the New York Yankees going against Zebby Matthews. They have no history versus him in the past, but if Zebby Matthews is primarily relying on that fastball, should be a decent matchup for the Yankees just in general, especially if his secondary pitches are not working up to snuff, which it's kind of a 50-50 shot on any given start that they will be working up to snuff, essentially. But with that being said, that's what I do have in terms of my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Monday, August 11th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, we'll be listing my early morning weather report. That'll have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. I'll be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure to check up in that comment section down below so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information, especially as we do head it in the lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos, typically Monday through Friday. I think Thursday's probably not going to have one once again this week. Thursdays have just kind of been those weird smaller slates just in general, so that makes it a little bit more difficult to cover, especially from the core pick and cheat sheet angle. But with that being said, I'll still have my MLB DFS notes up on Patreon for that day as well. And then I do have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week that typically comes out on Wednesdays, so definitely be sure to check that out if that's something you're into as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS and PrizePicks. If you're a brand new user on either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your first deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For PrizePicks, it's 100% match up to $100, and then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Monday, August 11th.